Now live.
Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting edition of Vampire the Requiem. Requiem, or London. This evening's scene will take place as Alexander Heartwell and Natalia walk towards Tower Bridge in order to meet a contact. I will give it over to Bishop now. Finger guns.
It's not much of an intro. Heartwell and Natalia, you are heading to the same. Rather, Heartwell, you are going to the same bridge you went to before. Where you met Mr Swindle. If I recall, it was the I think it was Lambeth Bridge. Which heads straight into Westminster. But at the middle of that bridge, you once again see, rather you don't see, but you are pulled into the obfuscation of Mr Swindle, who, for Natalia, as I assume you are with Dr. Heartwell, I will just give you a brief image. No. There we go. There we go. This is what he looks like. He's in the What You See channel. He's wearing a big brown long coat.
And he is a Nosferatu.
A fancy button shirt and looks absolutely disgustingly horrible. One of the uglier looking Nosferatu you've seen. Most Nosferatu you've witnessed can pass for human, even if they look deformed. Others just give off an aura of terror or unease. But this Mr. Swindle appears to have a particularly malignant deformity that would definitely cause others to question whether or not he was human at all. Definitely one of the more unlucky Nosferatu that you have come across. He looks distinctly unnatural.
On quite a few other occasions, Natalia would have to perhaps focus a bit to not appear spooked, but she's way too nervous and way too jumpy to even begin to think about that. She just stands there and she just looks and she will just say, "Good evening."
Dr. Hartwell extends his hand to Mr. Swindle. For the handshake.
He'll give you the handshake.
Pleasure to see you again, Mr. Swindle.
Evening.
Cold night, isn't it?
Autumn months.
Quite so. He makes a big show of warming his hands, kind of rubbing them together, even going so far as to breathe into them. But he says, when I signed on with my contract, I didn't think that we would be standing here with the racks having been taken and with the Invictus being pressed onto the back foot. I'll be honest with you.
Well, by all means, I'm willing to discuss this particular matter. Lucky you are connected to someone such as myself. A lot of us would be a lot less reasonable. But I'm sure
He
this
point-
will be talked out.
He points to Natalia with a gloved finger, like points his thumb at her, and he goes, "We'll start with the obvious. This young woman here. I don't know if you possess the specific gifts of my bloodline, our bloodline actually, but I've looked through her mind, and for the record, Mr. Swindle, it is nothing but Swiss cheese. There are holes, gaps, eddies. Somebody's gone to work up in there, but I'm here to tell you this evening, and I'll swear to this in front of any court you choose to put me in front of. Her sire? Yeah, that was it. She didn't kill him, or at least she had no free will in the killing of him. It was another individual by the name of... insert name, because Ivan didn't get it because Pete couldn't remember. That nasty woman shakes finger.
Do you say Esther Grimald?
Beg your pardon?
Grimaldi. Yeah, Grimaldi, that's it.
Grimald.
Yep.
No, it's just Grimald.
Grimald. She's been rather badly framed, I'm afraid.
Oh.
So,
Like gestures for you to continue. One of you to continue.
So, again, I don't exactly know what happened. I can't be certain because she did a fucking, like, serious job on my fucking mind. But how can I have the fucking hunt called off me? It's the question. What's required? That's the real question.
He rubs the bridge of his his non-existent nose when you ask that question. How or why do you expect me to be able to answer that question?
Because it's fairly present in my mind, let's say.
It is fairly present in my mind that I could be executed for really having this conversation.
What about if she was to present the Invictus something of such value that the blood hunt would be, well, a debt paid? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't have time. Oh, sorry. Continue, Bishop.
It would be an interesting thought experiment to see what this individual could possibly provide. That would be worth a forfeiture of a blood hunt.
Wait. What about the fact that someone is trying to fuck over the prince like this? In time of turmoil, just wiping out one of his major backers? I think that would be fairly pertinent information, and of course, an innocent person being framed for it is not something you want, really.
He sort of looks around you sardonically.
I'll come to brass tacks, Mr. Swindle. The reason that we're here, and the reason that I'm, well, escorting this young lady, is simple. I want this war to end. I like the status quo. I like the Maquette sitting in the seat that they are. She's been roped in for the planning of the Carthians' attack on the Shard prison. if that information could be leaked even a few hours ahead of time before it happens, you could snap a trap closed and kill a lot of the Carthians' heavy hitters in one night. Cripple them, break them. I wouldn't be surprised if Verve herself went in for this little escapade. Let's deal with this movement. If she can give you that information, would that be worth the cessation of this hunt? He says, gesturing towards Natalia with his head.
And you would do such a thing?
That very much depends.
Oh, no, it doesn't depend. You either will or you won't. And if you don't, well, you have nothing to offer.
I think it's more that she wishes to hear what it is that you're willing to offer for such a trade, aka, is it worth the price that I've stipulated?
The trade is quite simple. If you do in fact possess this information, in return for amnesty.
Amnesty.
You'll be free of the hunt, he says, leaning against the rail, crossing his arms.
It's Natalia's time to touch the bridge of her nose as she closes her eyes, stands there for a moment. So, amnesty. I'm just going to have my record expunged, and that's it. Even though I didn't fucking do it. Even though I was totally framed. And I have proof of that.
You have proof of nothing.
At the end of the day, it's my word. Heartwell shrugs. I'm somewhat respected in certain circles, but my word isn't comparable to that of Prince Graves, and he's issued the Bloodhound.
Your word, Doctor,
However,
is, of course, most respectable and trustworthy. However, as you say, it does stand against the word of many upstanding members of the Invictus, and it is an accusation levied towards a notary who has served the sect for many, many years. It would not surprise me to hear that. And he just pauses and looks at her. Miss Belenko's mind has been tampered with? Not at all. That does not necessarily prove the guilt of another.
It does, however, possess the possibility that, should Miss Belenko be exonerated of this crime, certain things could be investigated in the future, when the city is more stable.
Likely.
He looks at Natalia, and once again, he's got his arms crossed. He's kind of leaning against the railing. He takes out a cigarette from his pocket and he lights it with an electric lighter before he takes a deep drag. And he says, "At the end of the day, it's up to you, child, but this is the best option I believe that you're going to have in having some kind of future. Mr. Swindle's quite right. Tonight, both of us have actively put our own lives on the line having this conversation. So, it's up to you." He casually shrugs.
I'm going to have to need. Well, I'm going to have to get some more specifics. When are we going to do what? What am I going to agree to? Where am I going to come and talk with whom? For this to go down.
He kind of looks towards Swindle because that's really his department.
Takes out a phone. And then takes out a notepad. Writes something onto it. Rips off a piece of paper, hands it to you. Simply call this number when you are about to launch your little raid. And if the information turns up accurate and useful, then you will be exonerated.
The note, looks at it. She curses under her breath a bit. So I guess we're done, right?
Heartwell turns to Swindle and he says, "For my facilitation of this meeting, and assuming that things go ahead, I will be asking a very small finder's fee. But it's something that I feel the Invictus will be happy to give me. Simply, unfortunately, due to the sanctified raid of my facility, I've lost a number of my test subjects. I'll just take some of the torpid Carthians in payment." I take it that's acceptable.
Do what you will, and we don't really care.
What was that? Sorry, Bishop, I just heard I don't really care. I didn't hear the bit before that.
Well, do what you will, and we don't really care.
Good.
So long as they are not a threat to us.
It was the usage of them that allowed me to perfect Crimson. And for the record, Crimson is what he calls the syringe that lets people throw fire. And he says, "Friend, from what I've heard, you've at least been putting that to good effect when it is, even though the Racks were lost. The Carthians bled for it."
Mm. In truth, the Racks were unnecessary to our continued survival or control over this domain. The Carthians were wasting their time, as they do with most things.
He shrugs.
Apparently as they so did with you, he says. A self-satisfied smile appears on his face as he looks at Natalia.
I'm sorry, what?
He was just insulting the Carthians, saying they wasted their time taking the Racks and that it was more or less an irrelevance that they were lost by the Invictus. And also said they also appear to have wasted their time on you, as he says, smiling quite self-satisfied at Natalia. He does not hide his contempt or sarcasm.
By the way, Bishop, important question: have the Lankea extended their offer of basically basically a ceasefire / armistice to us yet?
Not yet. It'll be in the rumors channel when the announcement's made.
Okay, I just wanted to know. He nods.
It's good to see that you're working on your, people skills, and I mean, it's not like this sort of, behavior or attitude is going to piss people off and do this again. Like, good work. Really top notch. All right, I'll see you later, I suppose.
Perhaps we
Alright.
will.
Heartwell will stay behind as he looks at Swindle, kind of crosses his arms. He hikes himself up from where he was leaning against the railing of the bridge, and he says, "So, if the racks are immaterial, in that case, what is the next move? Because as it seems to me, they're putting you into check."
With respect, Dr. Heartwell, that is not for you to know.
As you like. At the end of the day, as I said, I am a neutral party. Or rather, no, I was. Until the Sanctified decided to take something from me that I actually valued. So now I'm all in, proverbially speaking. But kind of looks off into the distance, contemplating. This war is dragging on. The longer it lasts, the more bloody it's going to be. It is as it is. It has been a pleasure, Mr. Swindle. As always.
As always. He releases you from his obfuscate and he is gone, but you are still present.
You know what? I'm going to try and contest his obfuscate and the obfuscate of anyone around me because I can do, can't I?
Mm-hmm.
Oop, I should have put a space there. Two of the successes.
Oh yeah, you see him.
Is it only him or is there anyone else around me?
No, just him. He's just walking away.
Evan
Heartwell.
has to do the thing.
Hmm?
Oh, it's just you have to contest people's obfuscate. You did it with me
Always.
as well.
Always have to
Yeah.
contest it. 10 out of 10. I mean, it's free. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
But
that's great.
he nods. He turns. He makes his way back down the bridge.
All right.
We good, Chris?
Alright, yeah. I think that's a good place to end the scene. Thank you, Purse, for playing. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all
This
next
is gonna
time.
be-
Bye-bye.
Hmm?
This next